is ESPN Classic.
The following is a special presentation of ESPN Classic.
Welcome to SportsCenter Flashback. I'm Reese Davis. Of all the pitches thrown in a Major League game, a few have more meaning than others. Such a pitch was the one thrown by Donnie Moore in the 9th inning of Game 5 of the 1986 American League Championship Series. His team, the California Angels, was one strike away from their first World Series when he released the ball. The tragedy that followed still echoes hauntingly today.
It's a great story. Angel pitcher, $3 million relief pitcher, shoots himself after throwing a bad pitch. It's great headlines. Did they go much deeper than that? Not really.
When you're talking about something as huge as someone shooting his wife and committing suicide, you've got to figure there's a lot more to it than throwing one baseball and seeing it go over a fence.
I hit a home run. I've hit home runs before. His job is to be a closer. He had been a closer all of his life.
What a great series.
It looked like a lock. The Angels led 5-2 in the top of the 9th and were ahead in the ALCS 3-1. The champagne beckoned. So did the World Series.
It was, to me, might have been the most dramatic hour in sport I've ever seen.
2-1.
It was rocking. The table was set. We just needed to go, eat the meal.
We had California Highway Patrol. They were now lining up from our dugout all the way to the right field line and all the way to the left field line.
We wouldn't have said it out loud, but I mean, everybody's feeling that we didn't have a chance to win this game.
It was pretty incredible. We had nothing else to lose. I mean, it was the last inning. Let's go for it.
Start the 9th. Buckner gets a hit up the middle. He hit it right where I thought he should hit it. Ground ball to short, so base hit. That happens. They got an out, and then Baylor came up with one out.
I got to 3-2, and I hit a ball off the plate, over the center field fence.
And it's 5-4.
It's a home run on a ball that I would throw him 100 out of 100 times, and I guarantee you wouldn't hit a home run on it.
That's the big hit. Everybody remembers, the home run I hit, but Don Baylor got the 2 home run that got us close. That got us back into the ball game where Gene Mock had to make a decision. Do I let Mike Witt finish the ball game out, or do I give it to the bullpen?
So now it's 5-4. With one out, Dwight Evans comes up, pops up to third.
I remember catching it. Mike Witt had run all the way over by third base, and I flipped him the ball in the hand. I said, "This is what we've been looking for, Mike. You're the man."
One out away, and we're in the World Series, so I'm kind of geared up for the last guy. The last guy happened to be Rich Gedman.
Gedman was on everything Mike had thrown that day.
And Donnie Moore throws in the bullpen, and Gary Lucas as well.
All of a sudden, I see Latchman jump out of the dugout. My mind immediately said, no, leave him alone. Don't talk to him. This guy's as focused as we can get.
Marcel Latchman goes to the mound.
Mike Witt wanted very much to stay in the game. He felt like he could have closed out the game. He was a great pitcher. He was having a career year, and he still felt like he still was throwing the ball well and that he could get that last out.
Do I show us any emotion here? Do I kind of fight for this? And I thought, well, they've been right all year as far as I went.
Bob Boone and I converged rather rapidly on Marcel Latchman. So what are you doing? And there was a few other things said, and, Latchman barked back and said, it's not my decision.
I won 18 games. They made the right moves, and I thought now is not the time to argue this point.
All I know is he hit 3 rockets off of Witt during that game. One off the fence for a double, and 2 other line drive right on him, and he had his number. Now it's the 9th inning. Witt's not going to be throwing anywhere near as hard, and Lucas had faced Gedman 4 times during the season. Gedman was 0 for 4 off of Lucas.
It was about the 5th, maybe 6th inning.
Gene had told me that if the catcher came up in the situation to beat us late in the game, he wasn't going to beat us. He knew who he had in the bullpen and how those people matched up.
He is not a guy who deviated from his managerial style. He was not a hunch manager by any means. Every move was calculated, and he did what he thought he should do at that moment.
I didn't like the decision. I thought Mike was throwing fine, but that was Gene's decision. It didn't really matter what I thought. What does Lucas do? Hits him. Gary Lucas hadn't hit a guy in 4 years. He just said the first pitch got away from him. To hit him was just like, no, you can't do that.
And now Henderson's coming up with Moore in the bullpen, and that's going to do it for Lucas.
When I saw Donnie Moore come out behind that fence, I went, oh, no. And I think everybody on our team went, oh, no, because anybody who's had a cortisone shot knows there's no physical way you can perform, especially within, less than 24 hours. You had it the night, Saturday night, we're playing a day game.
In his second year as the Angels closer, Donnie Moore had pitched most of the 1986 season in pain. Needing repeated cortisone injections, he had been limited to 49 appearances and had converted 21 of 26 save opportunities.
The day they do it, it hurts like hell. They stick a needle in and they go to the spot. So that needle is hitting what hurts. See, I never heard of anybody having it the night before and pitching the next day. He always got a day off.
Everybody knew that he wasn't 100%, but we also knew that if whatever he had in the bag, he was going to take it out there.
We all want to play, and we all want to compete, and especially when you're at a higher level, you start maybe making yourself trying to do some things that you wouldn't do otherwise.
Donnie Moore was a tough cookie, but nobody's that tough.
One pitch added to his repertoire had made all the difference. Once Moore mastered that nasty, diving, split-fingered fastball, he became an ace closer. Over the past 2 seasons, he had racked up 52 saves.
The split finger would come up much like a fastball, and then it would just drop as if it had dropped off the table. So it was very hard for batters to hit. They hit a lot of ground balls.
He could throw it for strikes, or he could throw it not for strikes when he wanted to, and that really put him on the map as a star reliever.
Donnie, one of the principal reasons why the California Angels are where they are.
It was just a tremendous pitch, but it also took a toll on the pitcher's arm. It's a difficult pitch to throw, and not many players could throw it that effectively.
And the drama keeps building. Here comes Moore.
Moore was brought in to face Dave Henderson, who was hitting 189 since August 19th. At this point in the game, Henderson was the one wearing the goat horn. When Bobby Gritch's deep fly ball in the 6th inning landed in his glove, the center fielder's wrist hit the top of the wall. The ball bounced out and over. A 2-run homer that had put the Angels ahead 3-2.
This is how good confidence I had for him to. I knew he was going to get that split finger, and I knew he wasn't going to be able to hit it. Because nobody was going to be able to hit his split finger.
He was overmatching Henderson the first couple swings. He waylaid. It's kind of like a mismatch.
I just went up there and tried to make contact, and after about 4 or 5 pitches, you can feel yourself, your timing getting better.
With the count 2-2, Donnie Moore threw 2 very good pitchers that Henderson had to battle to foul off to stay alive.
He threw one fastball that Henderson was on top of and fouled straight back. And you could tell at that point that the at-bat had gone on a little bit too long for Donnie Moore.
Gene Mock is on the top step or the second step of the dugout. The Angels are about to win this game. Everything seems like it's about to happen. He's a pitch away.
He went and made a tremendous pitch. It was down. There's no way you can hit that pitch unless you're thinking like I was thinking, this is going to be our last at bat.
To left field, and deep and down he goes back, and it's gone!
A pitcher knows when he's going to throw a home run when he releases that ball. And you wished you had a rod and reel going, come back here, ball.
You could almost audibly hear the air sucked out of the stadium.
You're looking at one for the ages here.
He jumped about 50 feet in the air, and that's one thing that stood out at that moment, seeing him jump sky high.
We all go back to when we're a little kid in the backyard, and we all go 7th game of the World Series. 3-2 count, you get the home run. You always hit the home run. And I actually hit the home run in front of, 60 million people watching.
It was the most excited I've ever been in a game. I remember running out the field and lifting him up at home plate like we'd just won the 7th game of the World Series.
He was always going to be remembered for that pitch and that spot. It was really sad because you couldn't blame that all on him. There was some question as to who called that pitch, because you didn't want to throw that specific pitch to Henderson in that spot.
The catcher is the one that tells the pitcher what to throw.
And Boone to the mound now.
It's his decision on what he thinks the player can hit or not hit. And Donnie has to throw it where it needs to be done.
To me, it was like, no, this is the pitch. You execute it. Now, I don't care if your back hurts or not. It has nothing to do with it. That was the right pitch.
Bob Boone believed that 99 out of 100 times Donnie Moore would have thrown a good split-fingered fastball, and Dave Henderson, expecting a fastball, would have struck out.
Usually when you repeat a breaking ball in a situation like that, you have the opportunity to go farther down in the dirt where, he can chase the ball. I think if they'd have done that, he'd have done this, he would have swung at that ball too, and we would be having this conversation.
So Donnie Moore came close to getting Henderson out, and had he gotten one of those 2 pitches by him, it would have been a completely different story. Donnie Moore would have been a hero and not a goat.
And I'm thinking, oh, Lord, we got a lot of family at the house. My father-in-law and mother-in-law. My mom being there. Oh, my God. Gonna hit the fan when we get home.
It seems Germany's got a taste for America. Backslide.
Think I love you. Operator, I'd like to make a collect call, please. First name Bob. Last name is We Oughta Baby Eats a Boy.
Hello?
Collect call for Mr. Bob. We Oughta Baby Eats a Boy.
Sorry, wrong number.
Who's that, dear?
Bob, they had a baby. It's a boy.
Oh.
Don't cheat the phone company. Save money the legal way. Call Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
It's time to redo the kitchen.
Let's get that home equity loan.
It's the Hendersons.
Get him a great deal.
Partridge Bank's on the job.
So's Ferguson Bank.
We need a lower rate.
Want banks to compete for your home equity loan? Come to LendingTree.com. Fill out one form and get up to 4 offers within hours. When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com.
This weekend, Enterprise Rent-A-Car announces special low rates from just $9.99 a day. Friday till Monday from just $9.99 a day. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
I've always loved working on computers, and in the Army, that's what I do.
If you never thought about the U.S. Army or Army Reserve, think about this. There are 212 ways for you to become a soldier and work at a job you'll love. Call 1-800-959-ARMY for this free video to find out which job is right for you and discover the 212 ways you can be an Army of One.
I love what I do.
Tomorrow on ESPN, a SportsCenter profile of Reggie Jackson. Then Wednesday night hockey with the Stars Penguins, followed by SportsCenter and baseball tonight. On ESPN2, RPM tonight at 6, followed by NFL tonight, and later, NFL's greatest game, The Drive. And on ESPN Classic, SportsCenter profiles Isaiah Thomas, then relive 97 in SportsCenter Games of the Year, followed by Fernando Mania, and catch the new 24-hour ESPN News.
Donnie Ray Moore was born on February 13, 1954 in Lubbock, Texas, and almost from the beginning, he had the unmistakable look of someone who was meant for baseball.
It was amazing how he could throw the ball. But I would catch with the big glove, and I was just scared if that ball hit me, man, it's going to really hurt me.
I never seen a kid with the direction that he had. He was on a mission to get to the highest level he could as quick as he could.
Baseball was the driving force. I think probably from Little League on up. That's what he talked about. That's how he carried himself, and that was his character and the essence of who he was.
He always told me, you know, I'm going to the majors. I'm going to be a major league player.
Raised in an African-American neighborhood known as Yellow House Canyon, Moore was one of the few blacks to attend Monterey High. The school was famous for its baseball program and its coach, Bobby Magel.
Coming to Monterey High School and playing for me was his ticket to this exposure. And that was really a tough situation for a kid like he was, because he was going to be the first black kid. He was going to jump ship from a predominantly black school and come to a white school. And back in 69, 70, that was really a tremendous choice for a kid.
Donnie was sort of the Monterey version of Jackie Robinson. If you had to pick a member of the black community to come over and represent the black community, because back in the early 70s, Monterey was all white.
Moore always seemed to have a smile on his face, but he rarely let any of his teammates know what was going on inside.
He wasn't an extrovert, wasn't the life of the party or anything, but he wasn't an introvert either. He just sort of fit in.
His tendency was to keep everybody at arm's length, quite frankly. I don't know why. I don't know what caused him to be that way, but he was not the most warm, compassionate fella on the block.
Monterey High won its first Texas State championship in 1972 and was carried to it by Moore's inexhaustible right arm.
He wanted the ball in his hand. He pitched in all 9 playoff games for us in 72 to show his resilience of his arm and his competitive spirit.
He was something special. He really was. Did he have a confidence in himself? Absolutely. He had a fire that burned pretty hot inside of him. And he was as competitive and intense a competitor as anybody I played against or played with then or afterwards.
And he struck out 222 kids in 140 innings his senior year. And it was strictly off location, always on the outside corner. Extremely good.
Everyone remembers his pitching prowess, but he also hit fourth in the lineup and was an outstanding hitter, especially with men on base.
The Red Sox drafted Moore in 1972. They coveted his bat and wanted him to play the outfield, but he was determined to pitch. At Coach Magel's suggestion, he attended Ranger Junior College on the Texas Plains. He was all but unhittable and won 18 of 19 decisions.
Leads them to the national championship. I think he won every game in the national tournament for them.
In 1973, the Cubs signed Moore as a pitcher. But that was only the beginning of a 12-year odyssey that would wind through team after team and league after league before he finally found a home with the Angels in 1985.
The most difficult part was once Donnie made it to the major leagues and he began shuffling back and forth between the majors and the minors, because once you've been to the big leagues, it's hard to go back down to the minors.
They called him the journeyman. Usually I would pack up and he would get on the plane and go where he needed to go, and then I would meet him where he needed to be. It was just part of our life.
Moore and Tanya Martin met in high school. At 19, they married. She was determined to be the ideal baseball wife.
The only thing he needed to worry about was his pitching. I mean, I didn't want him to be stressed or anything like that, so I tried to take care of everything.
Donnie and Tanya were a very striking couple. They were very good looking. They did seem like the ideal couple, the perfect couple.
I used to be his catcher sometimes when he couldn't find anybody to catch him. I just took the glove up and catch him.
But Moore soon began to throw more than baseballs at his wife.
Donnie would hit her when he became jealous, when he had been drinking. He was still very possessive of her. He did not want her to leave the house without him knowing where she was going.
They had some bad times. I mean, there was a lot of abuse. Not some, there was a lot of abuse.
Sometimes every week, sometimes every other week, whatever. Then if it didn't happen, he would say, it's time for me to put you back in place.
As many women do, she struggled with how to deal with that. She explained to me she loved the guy. This was the only life she knew. She wasn't going to just leave him.
In 1985, the Angels selected Moore as compensation for the loss of free agent Fred Lynn, and the reliever flourished. He set a team record for saves with 31, and his ERA was 1.92. As an all-star, he expected to cash in as a free agent, but the owners colluded, and only one team made him an offer, the one he already pitched for.
He got a good contract by the standards of regular people, but that was during the collusion period, and he got a lot less than everyone thought he would get. I think people thought he would get about $5.5 million for 3 years, and he got $3 million for 3 years.
Because I know a lot of players at that time, they were going to sue. I believe they did have a class action suit against baseball. Donnie might have been included in that, but Donnie was not going to testify against baseball.
The most important thing to me is, is my family. But I really love the Angels. I love playing there.
Like many athletes who yearn for a sense of permanence, of belonging somewhere, he took his money and bought his dream house. He and Tanya had 3 children, Demetria, Donnie Jr., and Ronnie.
It was everything to him. It was his first major purchase, something that he could give to his family. It had a built-in trampoline in the backyard. It had a pond that he could do fishing in, a swimming pool.
What the new contract meant for Moore and his family was that they would have the financial security that they had always dreamed of.
To have a contract where you don't have to worry about it the next year, that's great. Because you just have to keep negotiating. To have a contract more than a year, that's wonderful.
It appeared then that Donnie Moore had arrived, that he had everything in the world. The one thing that had eluded him, he still wanted to play on a championship baseball team. And that was why 1986 meant so much. When they got into the American League Championship Series, the chance to go to the World Series. And for a baseball player, that's the ultimate prize.
It's astonishing. It's breathtaking. It's the revolutionary GE Profile Arctica. The first refrigerator that can thaw a filet in half the time. It can chill wine in minutes, help keep lettuce naturally crisp, all while using up to 40% less energy, which makes your kitchen the one place it belongs. The GE Profile Arctica. The refrigerator. Rethought, reinvented, revolutionized.
Bruno's Appliance. 2 locations to serve you in Warren and St. Clair Shores.
There are little men with great big hearts in racing. They're the jockeys on the backs of thoroughbreds. Quick dick riding like no other on a filly called a butter, more exciting than the books you might have read. So Heidi, Heidi, hey, Heidi, Heidi, ho. When you see him, give him a shout.
Go, baby, go. Preview the World Thoroughbred Championships Friday on ESPN2. 15 years later,
Little roller up along first.
it's still unbelievable. This Sunday on ESPN Classic, the story behind the 1986 World Series, the New York Mets.
There was a lot of animosity from other ball clubs.
The Boston Red Sox.
It was one of the great letdowns in World Series history.
Battle Lines, the 1986 World Series, 9 p.m. Sunday, only on ESPN Classic.
The 260 horsepower Acura CL Type S.
A lot of people forget the game did not end with the home run that David Henderson hit. It's amazing how many people forget that.
To have the situation happen in the top of the ninth, and then to come back in the bottom of the ninth and still score a run to tie it back up, that showed a lot of character in that team.
The Angels loaded the bases against Steve Crawford, a Boston reliever who was making his first playoff appearance. There was only 1 out, and Crawford was 1 pitch away from sending the Angels to the World Series.
If I give up a walk here or a long sacrifice fly, will I ever be able to come back to Boston? It was a scary moment.
They had the winning run on third base with only 1 out and one of their best and most productive hitters up in Doug DeCinces. And Doug DeCinces knew as he went to the plate, all he had to do was just hit a deep fly ball.
DeCinces could have won the game. In that situation, almost anything you do wins the game, you know. But a pop-up doesn't.
Popped up, shallow right field. Wolfenger's tagging, but it's just a shallow fly ball. Evans makes the catch, and they can't take the chance.
The next batter was 17-year veteran Bobby Grich.
I couldn't even spit I was so dry-mouthed. I mean, I was like spitting cotton. Bobby came up, and I started him out with 2-0 count, 2 straight balls. And that's when I started this can't happen.
This whole ride we've been on today belongs to Disneyland.
I've got a groove of pitch right here. Another ball ran back on him and hit that little soft line drive right to me. And I caught that. I looked in the air and I said, thank you, Lord Jesus. I think said, thank you for getting me out of this.
Doug DeCinces swings a bad 2-0 pitch, and whoever, I think it was Bobby Gritch, swung at a bad pitch. Mark, Bob Boone, guys like Reggie Jackson, they were more upset about those terrible bats against the pitcher who was self-destructing on the mound, was just going down like butter on the mound. That's what they were all talking about, not Donnie Moore. Donnie Moore wasn't considered the GOAT of that game. Doug DeCinces was.
Donnie Moore shut out the Red Sox in the top of the 10th inning. So had the Angels scored in the bottom of the 10th, Donnie Moore would have been the winning pitcher. It would have been a different thing. Donnie Moore would have been a hero, and perhaps the rest of his life would have unfolded differently.
Moore went out for the 11th, and he promptly loaded the bases with the first 3 Red Sox hitters. Then, he gave up a sacrifice fly to Henderson that scored the winning run.
Red Sox lead 7-6.
In the bottom of the 11th, the Angels went meekly.
It was probably the most important win besides my first major league win ever. I mean, it's hard to explain how great the feeling was when we won.
It was a Houdini act, that whole game. I mean, but that's baseball. It was a great game, and once we won that game, even though we were down 3-2 in the series, once that game was over, we had it won.
I mean, it was a great plane flight home. We're completely exhausted, but yet we're singing and dancing and having a great time. It was just a great ride home.
But for Moore, there was no escape. At every turn, Henderson's home run was being replayed.
Right after the game, you turn the news on. Click, click. The sportscasters in, I mean, the TV, Donnie this, Donnie that.
Be able to take the bitter with the sweet, and this is real bitter.
You also have to remember that for Game 5 of the American League Championship Series, Donnie's family had come out to Anaheim to watch this. So he had all of his family, his friends, his parents, all of these people who were there to see him at what could have been the highlight of his baseball career.
When Moore returned that night to his dream house, he brought a budding rage with him and cooked it in alcohol.
All of a sudden, I thought, okay, I'm saying this to myself. If he has one more drink and they ask him one more question, he's going to hit the fan.
At a certain point, she told her mother, you know, go to bed, close the door, and do not open that door no matter what you hear.
She went in her room, sure enough, he let everybody have it. He cleaned the whole house out.
Despite the wrenching loss, the Angels still needed only one more win to reach the World Series. They might as well have needed a dozen.
They're in good shape, but it never felt like they ever had any momentum.
There was just something missing that we couldn't break through. Psychologically, we just couldn't overcome what happened in Game 5. It was just too devastating, I think.
We just took it away from them on Game 6 and 7.
The Angels never came out of their shell shock and lost Game 6 and 7 to the Red Sox by a combined 13 runs. And Moore faced a cruel and merciless winter.
After Donnie gave up the home run, things were never really good again. He felt that he had let his manager down, that he had let his teammates down, that he had let the entire ball club down.
When you go out in public, all people see is that pitch. They don't see a person. You're not allowed to make any mistakes, especially not during a playoff. You know, like, they actually think he wanted to give up a home run during a playoff. Right.
When frustration overloaded his circuits, Moore turned to the same release to which he always turned.
You know, I'd go over to the house and she'd have a cast on her wrist one day, and then I'd see bruises. And then finally, I remember I saw a black eye and bruises. And I asked her point blank, I said, what's going on here?
No matter how I tried to avoid getting my ass whooped, I would always get it, no matter what. I could cough the wrong way, and if he was in one of his little funky moods or something that happened to him off there in the ballpark, and he started drinking his little Jack Daniels and he couldn't handle it, I would pay for it.
And I told him, I says, you know, you gotta realize something, Donnie. I says, you gotta stop hitting your wife. And he got very defensive. We reached an understanding. Stop hitting your wife. And it lasted for a while, but sure enough, the pressures of trying to play baseball, it comes back, and next thing you know, He's abusive to her again.
Look, I know Circuit City's doing this expo thing, but we're busy. Get what you need. We're out of here. Agreed?
Yes.
We know how you feel. It's Expo 2001. 30 days of non-stop demonstrations of what's hot and what's next in electronics. September 30th through October 31st. Circuit City, we're with you.
You have one new message.
John, it's Bob. I tried tracking you down everywhere, so I'm leaving this on your cell phone. Look, about your merger meeting this morning, whatever you do, avoid the boardroom. I was talking to maintenance, and they just lacquered the table, and it needs 24 hours to dry. Man, I hope you get this.
With ordinary cell phones, you leave messages, but with Nextel Direct Connect, the digital two-way radio, you get right through.
Right. Tomorrow sounds perfect. I'll talk to you then. I have an important meeting I'm taking off to. Bye.
In schools big and small, State Farm is there.
Why are you here today to talk about fire safety?
With our Smoke Detectives Kit. It's free to any teacher who requests one, as well as someone from State Farm to help present it.
Thank you. Take care.
Being there to help keep kids safe. It's what being a good neighbor is all about.
I'm going to be late for my own wedding.
No worries. My new Subaru Outback's more stable in a turn than a Lexus RX 300. Gets better gas mileage than a Ford Explorer. And like every Subaru, has the added traction of all-wheel drive.
Subaru Outback, the world's first sport utility wagon.
The rugged outdoorsy type. Nice choice.
Now you can get an APR as low as 2.9% on all 2002 Outback models.
The NBA season's about to begin.
Takes it all the way to the rack.
Kick it off with ESPN Classic's Running of the Bulls. Classic games from Pippen, Paxson, Grant, and you know who. Before the great stars make a comeback, they come to ESPN Classic. The Running of the Bulls starts 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, only on ESPN Classic.
Can you believe this ball game at Shea? Little roller up along first, behind the man. It gets through Buster.
You're watching ESPN Classic.
Donnie Moore reported to spring training in 1987, intent on a fresh start. He was determined to make the Dave Henderson home run history, but it remained a current event.
I remember talking to him first day of spring training the next year, and he said, you know, this is over. I'm going to move on, but I don't think he ever did.
The following year, a lot of the media often referred back to the postseason. And so he had to hear it again and again and again.
But he couldn't get rid of it. I think it was, for lack of a better word, devastating to Donnie.
On several occasions, he called me over to his locker and say, why do you keep focusing on just that? You know, it wasn't just me. And he was right. He was just the focal point for all the frustration from in 1986.
The fans roasted him at almost every opportunity, success or failure.
Of course, last night when the teams were announced out on the field, whenever he was announced, he got a few boos, and I'm sure that's, as long as he's with his club, he will follow him as long as he is here.
Every time he came in, the fans booed him. He'd have a good game and they'd boo him. You know, he had a bad game, they'd boo him.
Well, baseball fans are never reluctant to let the players know when they are unhappy with them. But in certain cases, like in Donnie Moore's case, I think that the level of the abuse, the volume of the boos, really exceeded the norm.
About a guy making $1 million a year. And have 1 or 2 good years in a row and build that thing up to $1 million. Donnie just shakes his head.
They were so cruel to him. How do they expect a human being to go out and make amends when you don't even allow him to step out the bullpen?
You walk from that bullpen in Angel Stadium out to the mound and having 50-some thousand people booing at you, it's difficult.
It got to the point where Donnie didn't want to come out because of the fans. He'd rather pitch on the road.
When you've got an 8-year-old calling you names and his dad standing right there, not slapping him upside the head for using that kind of language, it's hard.
I think what bothered him more was at least a perceived feeling that his teammates blamed him for losing. I know I got the feeling from him and being in the clubhouse and watching him interact with his teammates the year after versus the year before that something had changed in the clubhouse.
The back pain that had plagued him in 1986 was so excruciating in 1987 that he appeared in only 14 games and was on the disabled list for more than half the season. It did not help his cause when Angel team doctors couldn't locate the source of the pain.
And he'd come home, he goes, you know, I'm telling them that something's wrong. I says, well, who are you talking to? I'm talking to the doctor. Well, Don, we can't find anything in the arm. Here, let's give you another shot.
Last year, a lot of the Angel players didn't think that he had really done all he could to pitch with a little pain.
A lot of people implied that Donnie had lost his will to pitch after the season before, and that his malingering or his feigning injury was a way of saying, I don't want to go back there again.
The frustration began to wear on Moore.
As he continued to struggle as a pitcher, he was very irritable and moody, snapped at people.
Sometimes he could get, surly is not the right word, somewhat distant. You know, one minute you think, well, here's the angriest man I've ever met. And then the next minute, he'd come over and slap you on the back. Great job, glad we could pull this one out.
I think his pain was one of the main things, you know, that really got him down. And he could have been figuring that if I hadn't have been hurting, you know, I could have done a better job.
He was under a lot of pressure. I mean, he had a family to take care of. And in order to take care of this family, you got to be able to go out there and get them out.
It's not just to feed his own ego, it's to feed his kids.
I don't think you can separate what happens on the baseball field from a player's personal life. Because obviously all of us, any of us would take home negative events at work. And Donnie was dealing with a lot of frustration. It was difficult for Donnie to deal with failure.
In September, Angels general manager Mike Fort gave public voice to what many had been whispering. He accused Moore of malingering.
Mike Fort, the general manager, lost his temper, and he just blasted Donnie. Basically said, this guy ought to stop complaining and get out there and pitch.
And I think to the fans, hearing this from an insider justified all of their worst suspicions in a way. And you know, here was proof that this guy was only doing it for the money and wasn't really working.
But when management takes shots at you unjustly, you know, that's really what upsets players the most.
I remember talking to Rod Carew, who was a very close friend of Donnie's on that team. Carew's reaction was, you know, I just felt like decking Mike Fort. And I think, you know, my guess is if you talk to Rod Carew today, he would still feel the same way.
A month after Moore was accused of malingering, the reliever underwent back surgery, where the doctor removed a bone chip the size of a dime, pressing against his spine.
They said it was going to be about an hour and a half. The surgery was 5 hours. It was a very serious operation.
When the diagnosis actually came down and showed that he had a problem, he felt, now maybe people will see that that wasn't the case, that the reason I was having pain was in reality I was having pain, not because I was faking.
And in a sense, I think the damage had been done. It's not as if the fans said, oh, you needed 5 hours of surgery. Well, let's stop booing him. Things didn't change just because he really did have a health problem.
I've never seen an athlete booed and treated as harshly as Donnie was. It was obvious he couldn't pitch for the Angels anymore.
This weekend, Enterprise Rent-A-Car announces special low rates from just $9.99 a day. Friday till Monday from just $9.99 a day. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
I'm outside with Derek. Derek, tell us about your run.
Well, I found the Hershey's chocolate milk, but it wasn't the new bottle.
The new bottle?
Yeah. I've been training with those paper carton things.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but they were using this sweet new ergonomically correct single-serve bottle that isn't even in stores yet.
But shouldn't that have helped you?
Yeah, I guess so.
But it didn't?
No, not really.
Well, why not?
I'm not very good, Jim.
I can see that. Hershey's chocolate milk, the official chocolate milk of the X Games.
Choose road. Validating tires.
BF Goodrich tires with traction advantage. For control you can feel, no matter what road you choose. BF Goodrich tires, take control.
How you doing? How you doing?
Hello. These guys took care of that thing, right?
Hey, Mikey, we take care of that thing? Hey, Nicky, you took care of that thing, right?
Yeah, sure. Come on, please. Hey, did you take care of that thing yet?
Yeah.
You took care of that thing, right?
Hold on.
Yeah. Steer there?
Yeah. You took care of that thing, right?
Jerry? Jerry?
Totally new Nissan Altima.
I'm not a role model. Charles Barkley, Sports Century Thursday. He was basketball's bad boy.
These guys is going to say what's on his mind.
Oh, I'm their worst nightmare. A brother who won't be quiet.
The real story.
He's spitting at people.
Behind the trash-talking MVP.
I thought they were racist to me until it's rescued.
Who refused to play by the rules.
He wasn't a saint. He was just Charles.
Charles Barkley. Sports Century, the top 50 and beyond. 8 p.m. Thursday. Only on ESPN Classic.
In 1988, the final year of his contract, Moore appeared in just 27 games, compiling a 4.91 ERA. In late August, he was reactivated from his second stint on the disabled list and then released that day by the Angels.
Being released is very horrible. Horrible. Wondering what you're going to do next. And how long your money's going to last, or if you made the right investments, or what you got to do next to pay a bill. It's bad.
Devastated. And he felt that the Angels did not stand behind him when he needed them.
I'm sure he was bitter because he really had done a lot in a relatively short time for the Angels. And he knew, and everyone knew, that if Dave Henderson swings and misses, Donnie Moore's probably an Angel for life.
I knew as long as I had baseball in our lives, I would be safe. I wouldn't have to worry about him wanting to destroy the whole family. But baseball was his life. I mean, he knows nothing else. So without that, what else is he supposed to do?
I think that what he was processing internally, we may never know, but I don't know that I will ever be able to understand the size of the time bomb.
Moore was going to get one last chance. In the spring of 1989, he worked out for Al Kubsky, a Kansas City Royals scout.
He had a pretty good slider, and that football had some action on it. When we talked when it was over, we said, what did I impress you? Well, I was honest with him. I feel like you did all right. You're not Superman. You don't have the arm you had originally, but you had 3 pitches, and that split finger did enough to say, hey, I can get people out.
Moore thought he had made the team in spring training, but the Royals sent him to their AAA team in Omaha.
And he took that offer from Kansas City, and it was a nothing offer. You go from $1 million to nothing. And now he's looking, he says, this is it. If I don't make Kansas City, I'm out of here.
First they told him he made the team, and then they cut him. Then they told him that when Omaha plays the big league team, he's going to pitch, and if he does well, he's going to leave with the team. And of course they didn't do none of that.
In Omaha, Moore found an unlikely teammate, Steve Crawford, the winning pitcher in Game 5 of the 1986 ALCS, the very game that had launched Moore's descent into despair.
A lot of jokes and laughs and teasing each other. And one of the players might say, hey, Donnie, what was that pitch you threw Henderson? I threw a hanging split ear or something, this and that. Or, you know, he accepted it. He was able to get teased about it.
Yeah, I don't think it was teasing, to tell you the truth. I think it was the type of thing that an old man is down in the minor leagues and you need to retire, and why are you here taking up space where a younger player could be? I think it had a lot to do with being evil and rude and mean.
On June 12, 1989, barely 3 months into his comeback, Moore was released. For the first time since he was a child, he faced the frightening prospect of a tomorrow that had no baseball in it.
Donnie was upset in terms of not knowing what was in the future for him and his family. He had 3 children, he had a wife, he had a very nice home with a mortgage. Suddenly, the brakes get applied. Now, you don't have a $3 million contract. Matter of fact, you don't have any contract. No one's calling, including your agent is not calling you back. No one's shopping you to anyone else.
Everything was falling apart for Donnie. His marriage, his baseball career, he had financial problems.
It's like his whole world is collapsing around him. It's collapsing at home, it's collapsing on the baseball field, and in his head most of all.
On the day that baseball told him it no longer had room for him, Moore called home to tell his wife. He said to expect him in about 6 hours. Something cold ran through Tanya Moore. It was a feeling she recognized all too well.
She had seen a pattern through their entire life together, and she knew that when things were bad, she could expect him to take it out on her, and she knew that this was as bad as it had ever been.
I called Tanya, I said, Tanya, and before I said a word, she was frantic. She says, did you hear? I said, yeah, I heard. I just talked to him on the phone. She says, we're leaving. He's going to kill me.
I said, okay, I can't be here. There's no way I'm going to be here when he comes. I'm not picking him up from the thing. I said, I'm moving. I'm leaving him. I said, if there's baseball anymore, I said, I can't be here. Adios, amigo.
A typical car insurance agent is on the job during regular business hours. On the other hand, Geico insurance professionals are on the job 24 hours a day. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Oh, I didn't want mail.
You don't have to sacrifice service to save money. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Powerful Acura 3.5 RL with satellite-linked navigation system.
I wonder how our home equity loan's going.
I'll check.
Here you go, sir. Thank you. Lower, please.
Mr. Bradley was in the lead, but now it's looking like Davis.
Want banks to compete for your home equity loan? Come to LendingTree.com. Fill out one form and get up to 4 offers within hours.
Well, that's not going to help you, Bradley.
When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com.
I've always loved working on computers, and in the Army, that's what I do.
If you never thought about the U.S. Army or Army Reserve, think about this. There are 212 ways for you to become a soldier and work at a job you'll love. Call for this free video to find out which job is right for you. And if you call 1-800-645-ARMY right now, you'll also receive a free Army t-shirt with your video. Discover the 212 ways you can be an Army of One.
Real classics. It's more than just movies. It's an inside look at sports' greatest films from the actors who made them classics. James Caan and Billy D. Williams get personal about Brian's Song. Billy D. on meeting his character.
When I met Gil Sayers, it was very interesting. When I met him, I knew him. I understood him.
James Caan on meeting Billy D.
Billy was built like this flyer. And I beat Billy by 20 yards in the fourth. I go, come on, Billy, man, stop screwing around.
Brian's Song, Sunday, November 4th at 9, only on ESPN Classic.
This is ESPN Classic.
In the 5 weeks between his release from the Royals and the night he took his own life, Donnie Moore retreated into himself, withdrawing from his friends, nursing his bitterness in a lonely, self-imposed exile.
My crew made numerous efforts to try and draw him out. We got to get together. We have to talk. Donnie would promise to come by and then never do it.
After 17 years of marriage, a terrified Tanya Moore moved out. On July 18, 1989, She returned to their home, having been told by her husband that there was a prospective buyer for their dream house.
The man never showed up for me to sign the papers. I'm thinking, where is he? And I get a phone call. I get on the phone. It's my beautician. All of a sudden, he takes the phone from me. He says, "You're talking to a man." I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Yes, you are." And he just knocks the shit out of me. I thought, oh, no. I get up. I go out to see where my kids are. I said, "I'm leaving." And he says, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it again." And I said, "No, you promise you won't ever do it again. I'm leaving." And then he excuses himself. He said, "I'll be back in a minute."
She and Donnie had argued hours earlier. The argument was over. But then all of a sudden he walked in with a gun.
And I look at him, and he looks at me, and he does this. And I said, "I know. You ain't finna kill yourself."
At first, he pointed the gun at his own head, and I think she said to him, in front of the kids, both the boys were there, and then he turned and pointed the gun at her, and shot her 3 times.
I said, "You shot me." I said, "I really can't believe you shot me." And I remember looking at his eyes, these horrible looking eyes look like demons and stuff. And I can hear my car started. And I see my daughter, and I tell her to help me. I got shot twice again. I got shot here, here, and here. And I remember saying, "Help me," and I remember her coming back and getting me. And I remember putting me in the backseat of the car. And I remember her screaming to the top of her voice. And I kept saying, "You know what?" I said, "You need to shut up." I said, "Because I'm dying." I said, "I'm really dying." I could feel myself floating away.
Her daughter takes her to the hospital. Donnie's left there.
Donnie's sitting at the table in the kitchen. Little Donnie comes in the kitchen. They're screaming and yelling. Ronnie's there. And he says, "What happened? What happened? Where's Mommy?" He says, "Don't worry. I'm going to be with Mommy." And in front of his kids, he shoots himself in the head.
The next thing I remember, there's people everywhere standing all over me. And I can see IVs everywhere. And I remember the lady saying, "Who are you? What's your name?" I said, "My name is Tanya Moore. My husband, Donnie Moore, he just shot me, and I don't know where he is at." I kept asking for him. The way I found out my husband was dead, because nobody wouldn't tell me. They had the TV on in my room. And I remember looking up, and I can see him. I can see them bring him out of my house in a green bag. That's how I found out my husband was dead, because I looked on TV. And I saw them bringing him out of my house. He thought he had nothing. He didn't have baseball, and he didn't have me. So there's no need for him to live. And sometimes I feel that if I would have stayed there to get my ass whooped for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe he'd still be alive, but we'd both be dead together anyway.
It's astonishing. It's breathtaking. It's the revolutionary GE Profile Arctica. The first refrigerator that can thaw a filet in half the time. It can chill wine in minutes, help keep lettuce naturally crisp, all while using up to 40% less energy, which makes your kitchen the one place it belongs. The GE Profile Arctica. The refrigerator. Rethought, reinvented, revolutionized.
Bruno's Appliance, 2 locations to serve you in Warren and St. Clair Shores.
Attack on New York on September 11 caused a lot of turmoil and fear. Among those who suffered a severe loss of confidence are our young people.
We can help by talking honestly to children, assuring them that they are safe, and by explaining that there are only a few bad people, therefore bad things don't happen very often.
We can restore confidence in children by demonstrating our own courage and ability to overcome.
Most importantly, we should never let them feel like they are the victim.
This is ESPN Classic.
When the first officer arrived, what he found was a scene that was pretty disturbing, obviously. We found Mr. Moore on the ground. There was a gun very close by. I'm sure that he thought, "I've killed my wife. The media's going to get this. I'm going to jail." And at that point, his only thought was, that's it.
My boys saw their father blow his head off. Donnie picked up the gun and Ronnie removed it from his hands. I didn't think he would do it in front of his children.
I mean, I can understand that people have marital problems, and there was clearly a marital problem involved in this. But this guy loved his kids. Something had to really snap for him to allow his kids to see that happen.
Donnie Moore was laid to rest in his hometown.
The funeral was beautiful and horrible. In the middle of summer in Lubbock, Texas, stifling hot. Everybody's trying to hold on and not cry, and people are crying nonetheless. And there were times when you could hear the whole place just take a collective breath. This guy was still young, and he'd been more successful than anyone ever could have imagined. And something had gone wrong, nobody understood what it was, and now he was gone.
Despite being shot 3 times, Tanya Moore quickly recovered.
They told her when she got to the hospital that it was a miracle, but the bullets had passed through her, and none of them had struck organs or anything that put her in a truly life-threatening position.
Donnie was a duck hunter, and so he had a .45 with loads in it that was for duck hunting, so that when he'd shoot it with a .45, it wouldn't blow it to pieces. So when he shot her 3 times, and it went literally through her and not exploding like a .45 is intended to do.
While the wounds of the flesh healed, those of the psyche did not. Tanya Moore has been in and out of psychiatric institutions, and all 3 children have struggled.
I worry more about my children because it's hard for them. It's taken us all through a lot. And a lot of people say, you need to get over it or forget about it. It's over in the past. It's deep and it's scarred.
The 3 kids live in California and they have no life. They have no sense of well-being because they have no father. They're destroyed.
Moore's friends remain mystified and ask questions for which there are not and never will be answers.
I think you have to keep in mind that most of the people who knew Donnie considered him a really good guy, and for this to have happened was very difficult for the people in his life to accept.
I was stunned because I didn't know that person. It was almost like that's somebody's taken his name. That's somebody I don't know. It would have never entered my mind to predict that would happen. I played with a lot of guys that I would have predicted that would happen. But it would have never entered my mind to predict that his life would end the way that it did.
The popular theory was that Moore killed himself over one pitched baseball, the one that Dave Henderson set over the fence. But those who knew Moore best dispute that notion as too easy, too shallow.
I find it hard to believe that it was cracked by that. You can't thrive in that kind of position without getting used to the idea that sometimes you're going to succeed and sometimes you're going to fail.
I don't think Donnie was that weak. If you're going to ever be distraught to that extent, you'd have done it the night you lost the game, but he went on. And I don't think that's what caused the tragedy.
What was more difficult, I think, was the years that followed when he realized his career was ending and he had to find something else to do with his life. And that, I think, was much more difficult for his psyche.
If you shoot somebody 3 times in which you've had a relationship that's been very violent, using a gun is just an extension of that domestic violence. Murder-suicide is not about suicide usually. It's about domestic violence. And we have to be realistic with that.
It wasn't a jealousy thing. She wasn't having an affair. Donnie was leaving baseball because baseball left him, and he was taking his wife with him.
I think the after fact, the way that the paper handled it, the news handled it, the fans mostly handled the home run, it's what got to him, not the home run.
I don't think the ordinary fan, when they boo someone like that, understands the psychological effect that can have on any athlete or any performer of any kind, that it's demeaning to them, it destroys their confidence.
We as fans often forget that for these players, while the cheers gradually fade away, the boos linger forever.
Donnie Moore was haunted by the thought that without baseball, he had no way to care for his family. The irony is that after he took his own life, an arbitrator ruled in favor of the players in their collusion case against the owners. Moore was awarded $1.15 million. For SportsCenter Flashback, I'm Reese Davis.
You're watching ESPN Classic.